Shit, she's over there.
Slender is the strand that guides our destiny.
Shit. I'll pause it. Hold on.
Only by true sacrifice.
Okay, we tagged her. We're good.
In our kingdom of Ash-Kahet, no one under.
This is one of these. They've been doing this since Battle for Azeroth. We've gotten these like really dope animations, these quick little like 6-minute videos of introductions to characters that we will see in the game. Some they've been realizations of characters, origin stories of villains, origin stories of heroes, basically like character reasons for these type of things. So this is an introduction to the Nerubians and the final raid boss of Tier 1, Season 1, The War Within.
Slender is the strand that guides our destiny.
Arachnophobia warning, by the way. Lots of spiders in this video.
Known only by true sacrifice. In our kingdom of Ash-Kahet, no one understood this sacrifice more than Queen Neferis, my mother. I saw this when the Black Empire came to conscript us.
So I'll explain the fight between the Titans and the Old Gods real quick. The Old Gods, in their pursuit to corrupt world souls, sent out the Void Lords in their pursuit to corrupt world souls sent out these creatures called Old Gods, which were basically their generals, their lieutenants, in a massive explosion of randomness in hopes that they would collide with a planet that happens to have a world soul. It has actually proved successful on a couple different planets. The Void had corrupted entire planets. They actually landed on Azeroth. 4 of them randomly landed on Azeroth. These 4 Void, or these 4 Old Gods, Void generals, if you will, were N'Zoth, Yogg-Saraz, Cthulhu, and who's the one in old? Yogg-Saron, Yasharath, Cthulhu, and N'Zoth. And the player characters throughout the entire story of World of Warcraft have defeated all 4 of these old gods. They embed themselves like a parasite in the planet. But with them, they bring their armies, right? Like, so think of the old god as a vessel. And it's a vessel of flesh and power. And when they land on a planet, they disperse their parasitic power using their armies, right? And all of their armies are made of flesh and made of bone and blood and creature, right? So the 4 armies of the Void Lords of the Old Gods were all insectoid in nature. The Mantid with Yasharaj, the Nerubians with Yogg-Saron, the Akir with Cthulhu, and the who were the insectoids for Mantid Yasharaj. Yogg-Saron had the Nerubians. Thune had the Akir. Who's the 4th old god? Yogg-Saron, Yogg-Sarosh, Cthulhu. I can't remember the 4th. I literally just said it. Where'd they all land? Okay. Cthulhu lands in the southwest. I can't remember the 4th, but there's a 4th insectoid army that is still present on Azeroth today. Basically, these insectoid armies were the military force of the void gods, but each of them have their own cultures. They develop their own cultures while living on Azeroth for thousands and thousands of years, right? The Mantid developed their own Paragon style culture, and all these insectoids at their core work with the Black Empire. They work with the Void Lords, right? So they came with them, they work with them. The Nerubians have their cities underground. The Akir built their cities in the deserts. And the Mantid built their cities in the forests of Pandaria. There's a fourth that I can't remember for some fucking reason, but it's fine. It's N'Zoth, and he didn't actually have an army. That's why I can't remember it. N'Zoth was a master manipulator, and he lost his army, whatever that insectoid race was, during the elemental wars, where the primal elemental forces were fighting with the Titans against the old gods, and the elemental lords were joining up with them to clear Azeroth of itself, right after the Titans discover Azeroth has a world soul in it. N'Zoth loses his insectoid army, but he corrupts other races. He creates the Naga, which serve the Black Empire. He creates other races and corrupts them with void energies to manipulate them and create these powerful creatures. That's what Queen Ajara is. She's a force general of N'Zoth, and she's manipulated her people to be this power of void, right? The Titans, after discovering Azeroth, so their way of trying to discover Azeroth is as a group, right? The Void send out their entities in random in hopes they land on a planet. The Titans will go from planet to planet, and if they discover a planet has a world soul, they implant their generals, their Titans, right? And their Titans are the like the Greek god, or not the Greek gods, the like Norse god named creatures on Azeroth. So like Odin and Thorum and Loken and all of those, like Freya, like all of those Titan constructs, those like stone walking creatures, the whatever they are, they create their machines on Azeroth, which then creates the armies. So there was this massive war between insectoid creatures and manufactured machine creatures, right? A battle of order and a battle of chaos. Eventually, the order loses. Or they win when they discover that they're fighting on their Azeroth, right? They discover Azeroth, they send their armies. The armies join up with the primal elemental forces of Azeroth to clean Azeroth of the Black Empire. The Black Empire can't be destroyed. The Titans try to pluck the old gods out of Azeroth, but by doing so, they pull Yasharaz out of Azeroth, right? And it kills Yasharaz instantly, but because the Titans are so powerful and the void gods or the old gods are embedded so deeply into the core of Azeroth, it creates this massive hole in the crust of Azeroth. So the Titans realize they can never get hands-on. That's why they send their lieutenants and generals and they fight these armies against armies rather than entities versus entities, because their goal is to not destroy Azeroth, it's to allow it to come to maturity and grow into a Titan. So that's where we get these Nerubians, that's where we get these stone constructs, the earthen, right? The dwarfs that we will see are a army force of the Titans that fought during these ancient times, right? So the Black Empire here, you can see one of the lieutenants. They're called the Faceless Ones. They're basically giant tentacle Cthulhu style beasts that work for the Black Empire, also known as the Old Gods, that help lead their insectoid armies in these fights against the Orders of Chaos, or Orders of Order. Agents of Order, right? So Nerubians, that's their history, that's their past. They're on Azeroth because they came with the old gods. They shouldn't be here. They're technically aliens. But while they were here long enough to develop their own culture. They built their own cities, and this is the first time we're ever diving deep into the culture of the Nerubians. It's very, very cool. That's the background there.
My mother refused them.
So this is new information. Basically, the Black Empire went, hey, there's this new faction on this planet. They're earthen, right? The creature, like the stone constructs of the Titans, and they're killing us. We are going to lose this war. We need your help. And the Queen of the Nerubians here goes, yeah, you guys are gonna lose. Even if we help you, I'm gonna save my people. And she chooses to not answer the call that her sworn people are due for, right? So she goes against her creators, her masters, to save her people in her mind. And they've got a freaking predator style rope machine that tears you apart. It's awesome.
In that moment, we felt destined for greatness. In the years that followed, greatness was touched.
Every empire has its problems.
Look at them out there. Wretched, starving.
I am not immune to our people's suffering. I believe better days will come.
Not if you keep failing to seize the moment. What was the point of you freeing our future, only to leave us buried in the past?
You comprehend so little. There is much for you to learn before you can be queen.
Mother! Mother!
I love this mural. So you can see on the left an old god style tentacle creature living at the top of steps, which is a very great depiction of N'Zoth or any of the old gods, Cthulhu, all of them. They all were like tentacly creatures. What do they call that? Very it's a specific name, but like old gaudy, right? Like on our, like we've got Cthulhu on our planet, right? If you want to look at the lore of the void god on our planet, it's like Cthulhu. Whatever that word is, it's like a very specific name, but I can't remember it right now. Very depicted the same way, like lots of eyes, lots of tentacles, very creatures of flesh. Our sanity can't comprehend even the look of them. And this great mural depicts like, you guys aren't supposed to have a culture. You're not supposed to have a kingdom. You're just soldiers in our fight. You're playthings, your toys for our will, right? And they broke away from that, and that's why their culture has fallen. I love this. This is so cool.
Are you seeing this?
You have heard my voice in your dreams, great queen.
I want to go frame by frame here.
You have heard my voice.
Zalatath trying to corrupt the Nerubians back into the fold of the void. You know, like, this is where your people belong. This is what you're supposed to do. So the Nerubians at this point, because they didn't join in that final fight and they've stayed hidden away, are probably a massive military force. They're probably a massive civilization, right? They've lived underground, away from the prying eyes of what Azeroth has become, away from the champions, away from the humans, of the orcs, all of it, right? They've stayed underground. So they've been able to turtle, if you will, in an RTS strategy, and develop their own technologies, their own strengths, their own military growth, right? They've been able to completely become a powerhouse. So obviously Zalatath is going to want this faction to work for her again. It will act as her military force in her campaign to defeat the Titans. And that's where we're getting to here in this depiction.
Great queen.
So Zalatath has been sending her visions like, hey, come back to the void. We'll offer you massive power. We'll bring your people back to an era of greatness. You guys will rule over Azeroth the way you want to, and you'll become these massive, like, just gifts of power, right? Just like promises of great things, like all great manipulators do. She's gaslighting this queen into thinking she needs her.
harbinger.
Yes, of the empire that was. The gods are dead. The empire lies in ashes. Your kingdom. The blood of the old gods. Make your people powerful again.
So in the same way that killed Jaden and the Legion used to manipulate cultures, the way that they manipulated the Draenei with Archimonde and killed Jaden, drink the power of these magic creatures' blood. That's basically the source of all these things, right? Like you have to embrace the magic. The way that World of Warcraft depicts that is an actual consumption of the magic. They call it blood. It basically is the blood, right? Like, so if I slit my wrist like vampire style and you drink of it, you will gain the power that I hold within, right? So if I provide you with the blood of these old gods, you consume it, you will become powerful as the old gods. A promise of power. So tempting.
Your words are tempting.
That's what I just said.
But the cost is too great.
Yeah.
I would.
You sacrifice free will for power. And it's like a constant dilemma and debate in World of Warcraft, right? All of these agents of evil are only ever seeking growth, power, and development. And it's something that as human beings, we strive to fight against every day. How much of our freedom do we sacrifice for power? We go to a 40-hour work week job for money. We sacrifice 40 hours of our day for money, for power. So it's a very relatable offer. It's a very relatable situation. Most people would take this. They would sacrifice everything to become extremely powerful because they would hope one day that the power that they have been given is so strong that they would be available to gain their own free will later. But as we have seen time and time again, you will never be able to be more powerful than the person who has given it to you. You will always be a slave to this power. If you take away from the power, you leave it, you abandon it, you become dependent on something else. If you look at the High Elves, they were extremely intoxicated with the power of order magic, arcane. When they got taken away, when that power got taken away, they become wretched. They become starved creatures. They have nothing left. They become shells of a creature that they used to be, basically like a shambling husk, a zombie, if you will, right? Dependent on every other type of arcane energy that they can. So it's such an realistic, relatable situation, and it's a trope that is reused over and over again in WoW, but it's a good trope that is very connectable as a human race.
Would never risk my kingdom for such a power.
So even going back to her original line, I hope one day it will get better. Their kingdom is currently in complete disarray. Something has happened. There's probably been a plague, a drought, whatever it is. They're running out of food. Their people are starving. Their kingdom has fallen on bad times. They are struggling. This manipulator, master manipulator, Xalatath, is approaching them at a great time of weakness where they could use any bit of help they possibly can. Master manipulators in our real life do this every day. They take people that are lost their homes off the street and sell them into sex slavery, like a bunch of different things, because they go, hey, I can save you, but then they just take control of them, and it's horrible, but it's something that happens all the time, and it's a completely relatable aspect. In great times of weakness, you have to remain true to your virtues and true to your own ideas of hope that you will eventually make it through without the assistance of others. If you take the assistance of others, you will become dependent on them, right? And that dependency is what makes you a slave. And that's what she's afraid of doing. She's afraid of sacrificing her people for the sake of help and assistance now, for power now, because she knows they will never be able to get out from underneath it.
Who are you talking to?
No thanks, Lolly. Thank you, though.
Ghosts, dearest. As always, on my ready counsel.
I'm not sorry for what I said. I only want our people to be great once more.
Greatness is fleeting. What we must do now is endure.
True words of wisdom there.
Come, child.
Their queen is actually very good here,
You
but the daughter has been too tempted, and she chooses to succeed her. Very Arthas of her.
You're not the only one seeing ghosts, Mother.
How sad.
The idea that all of this is happening in the shadow of this moral of their past, or not moral, sorry, this shadow of this wall. Oh, I just said it a second ago. I can't remember all the words I'm trying to think of, but this image of their past where they were slaves and they were soldiers and they had no freedom. The fact that this is happening in the shadow of that is such a good little cherry on top. It's such a good creative idea.
To have a queen so wise, and yet so ignorant to the call of destiny.
Here you can see the entire cloak of Xalatath represented by the void. You can see into the void via her cloak. It's one of the coolest character ideas that she has, where like you look at her from the back and all you see is just a girl wearing a shroud, but you look at her from the front and you're encapsulated by this ever-reaching darkness that is so vast and expansive, and you could see it always growing and expanding. And here, successfully being able to manipulate someone that will be in power, that she can corrupt. It's such a good imagery, and you can see how large Xalatath actually is. This queen is a giant Nerubian. When we fight her in the game, we're going to be just the size of her feet. So next to Xalatath, you can see her head is twice the size of the spider's head here, right? You can see how large Xalatath is lingering over her with this encapsulating void, now completely being encased by it, right? And that's the last thing her mother sees.
Name is Xalatath.
The devil on her shoulder, literally. It's so cool. It's so well done. Great metaphor.
With this
And now we see
power,
the empowered version of this priestess, of this princess, who is now the queen of the Nerubians. You can see how her form has completely changed to this more, you can see she's wrinkly here. She's got blemishes where like now she's perfect and she's powerful, and she's now looks well nourished, and she's in a state of pure ecstasy. And her people are transformed completely from the creatures and monsters that they were to these more soldier-like humanoidic creatures, more powerful creatures, but they are just slaves. It's awesome.
Long
And Xalatath being the puppet master behind them all, pulling the strings. What a beautiful freaking animation. Absolute beautiful animation. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I'm going to be able to upload all of those things on the YouTube. So